Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Today's webinar is going to be a collaboration between Endace and Keysight. I'll give you a quick intro, and then I'll hand off the mic to our speakers. Threats are becoming very sophisticated every day, and the pressure on the security teams are getting greater and greater for them to solve every incident and every attack immediately. This session is dedicated to provide you with a clear path forward. We will be demonstrating how a collaborative approach between Endace and Keysight can give you a complete visibility into your network and shorten the time for you to investigate your threats and ultimately strengthen your entire security posture. So I would like to introduce our speakers today. We have from Endace, Michael Morris, who's our Senior Director of Technology Alliance. And also we have Anderson Pierre, Channel Solutions Engineer from Keysight.
Faisal, thanks for the introduction. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for your time this afternoon and this evening. So as Faisal said, we really want to get into how Endace and Keysight see the threat landscape changing and how we can work together to really help you elevate your security posture. As we mentioned, it is changing. With AI, threat actors are being more aggressive and more pervasive in how they get in and how they do reconnaissance across networks. So we're going to get into some of those examples. We're going to talk about some suggestions of how to fight back. Endace has had the pleasure of being part of a number of industry-leading security operation centers, including at RSA, Cisco Live, and we were part of Black Hat as well. And some of the best practices from those events we've learned and given examples of how to help secure and fortify infrastructures. And then again, visibility both to everything on your network and historical forensics is everything and is an architectural blueprint of how you can better fortify your infrastructures. We're going to walk through a real-world example of how we can solve a problem, and then some calls to actions and Q&A to open up to the audience. So let's talk about the threat volume and complexity. It's continuously increasing. It's getting more sophisticated with threat actors using AI to not only find access points into infrastructures, but also to spread laterally and do that reconnaissance to find valuable data, whether it be customer data, whether it be IP, whether it be PII information, depending on the type of the organization. Really, we're seeing, and IBM had reported, only 1/3 of companies actually discover data breaches through their own security teams and tools. So really highlighting a need for better threat detection. And dwell times are at an ever-increasing number as well. In 2023, and this has only gone up in the last couple of years, it was almost 200 days to identify a breach and an average of 73 days to contain it. Most organizations, and I hope many on this call have experienced this themselves, are simply overwhelmed with the volume of alerts. And so it's really important for security operations teams to be able to not only get through alerts, but to dispense false positives and really understand where they need to spend their time in investigation phases. And ultimately, teams are trying to move up the maturity stack and get to more proactive threat hunting because of the threats of zero-day vectors and things like that. Again, threat actors are increasingly stealthy, right? They do everything they can to avoid detection and spend as long inside your networks looking for valuable data, whether that's, again, customer data, credit card data, sensitive PII type of data. And they have a number of techniques such as time stomping, changing file dates and times within date logs and transactions. Crypting as a service, which is obfuscating traffic and steps they take along the way once inside a network. Obviously, zero-day attacks are the way they find intrusion points into your infrastructure. And so being able to get in undetected and many examples of that over time. The SolarWinds breach, it was over, I think it was 70 some days, I believe, before that was announced that that hole had been identified and basically compromised. And so those are examples of just the dwell times and the access times that threat actors have to move around. They're also using advanced techniques like fileless attacks, where they're simply gaining access and then not having transaction of files. There's a number of disk wiping, data wiping techniques to, again, eliminate authentication logs, system logs, access logs, that a lot of organizations use logs as the backbone of their security infrastructure. And that log manipulation and disabling and deletion really makes it difficult for security teams to understand what steps and where threat actors have been within the organization. And they're using legitimate protocols. One of the top ones, DNS, we're seeing DNS tunneling, being able to use very common traffic accepted on all networks, DNS traffic, and using it as a vector for other activities, known as DNS tunneling. And there's numbers examples of this where supply chain attacks, the SolarWinds thing I mentioned, SolarFlare, is just one example where, again, threat actors gained access through a tool for monitoring networks and for securing networks, and then they had access to go anywhere in the infrastructure. So let's look into a little more detail of a real-life stages of attack, because I think a lot of folks don't understand how many stages there can be within a threat attack itself. And so the Microsoft Office vulnerability hook shell, this was a few years back. The initial firewall detection may have been seen in that initial access, but that type of threat often doesn't block the traffic. So once the traffic was inside the network, that's when several phases of the threat vector then opened up, including lateral movement, port scanning, and most malware has multiple stages in today's activity. And they're, again, looking for logs and metadata that may be indicators of various stages, but it's difficult with just those pieces of tools to connect the dots. And it's really impossible with just log data to determine what, if anything, was exfiltrated, what sensitive information might have been compromised from your environment. So let's look at some industry-leading best practices. And again, Endace and Keysight are fortunate to cover all gamuts of the enterprise solutions, but especially in a lot of these critical infrastructure. And a lot of people think of critical infrastructure as primarily oil and energy, electricity specifically. But as we've all learned through the pandemic and changes after the pandemic, critical infrastructure is actually a lot more, right? It's everything from manufacturing to technology organizations that we all rely on day in and day out. It's our food stream, our food sources. So everything from agriculture and farming to transportation and services to deliver food to shelves that we can all go and buy at local grocery stores. It's also telecommunications and certainly banking. Everything is monitored in the banking industry now, and access to funds and those types of connected services really become critical access and targets for threat actors. And even things like our healthcare, our water supplies, those are increasingly become targets for threat actors and threat activity. So what's happening across the industry and what are we seeing? Well, nation-state cybersecurity is ultimately paramount. Countries around the world are understanding all of those critical infrastructure components are vital to keeping the societies and cities running and operating efficiently, keeping citizens safe. And everything from nation-state departments of government themselves to those infrastructures, they're needing to depend on the same types of architectural design and security stack that leading organizations have. And so that's being more commonly shared. We're also seeing many organizations really get into and evaluating or updating network detection and response or expanded endpoint detection and response solutions. So some of the legacy solutions are being updated and migrated to new solutions. And for those that didn't have any NDR solutions, they're starting to evaluate vendors in that space. But as part of those RFP processes, we're seeing packet data or full-time packet capture is becoming a standard for next generation SOC operations, because packet data is ultimately the ultimate network forensics to connect all those other indicators in those log files. And network-wide visibility is paramount, and solution vendors like Keysight has industry-leading tools to really provide that visibility anywhere from the on-prem infrastructure to cloud infrastructure. And all of these are becoming the definition of the highest standards, whether it's within the European Cyber Resiliency Act, global compliance requirements. And in the United States, they have White House Executive Order 14028 and M2131, which is requiring 72 hours of network packet capture. So these are becoming the definition of what best practices look like. So what are some of the key components of next generation SOC architectures? Well, everybody has started, and most everybody already has firewalls, but network visibility and network packet brokers are becoming key to give that access to all segments of the network and simplify the deployment architecture of many of your other tools. SIEM and SOAR solutions are obviously increasing. People are needing to orchestrate and automate as much as they can. But continuous network packet capture is becoming a standard to have in next generation SOCs. And it's being coupled with NDR and XDR solutions to do that detection and response capability of what's happening at the network level, and including the endpoint components. DNS management is key because of the vulnerabilities in DNS protocols and the commonality of that across all network infrastructures. Malware analysis to be able to do sandboxing of malware found within infrastructure, and state-of-the-art intel threat intelligence feeds are becoming paramount because of the constant newness or evolution of threat vectors and threat actors. Having those feeds from leading vendors like Palo Alto, like Cisco, Talos, and a number of other players that provide threat intel. These components are all part of what is considered to be the next generation SOC architectures. And it's these components that, again, we were fortunate to be a part of some of the next gen SOCs at RSA as an example. So with that, I'll turn it over to my friend Anderson and let him kind of describe next generation visibility.
Thank you, Michael. So, yeah, Michael did a really good introduction already, but just make sure that you understand what is visibility on the point of view of Keysight, because visibility is a broad field, right? Since from the packet capture to the analysis of the data. But let's think about a world where there is zero visibility layer in your topology. You can see something that looks like this, like a mess, right? So you want on one side you have your network or all of your infrastructure where is generating data, right? And somehow you need to get this data. You need to gather this material to have something to analyze on the point of view of the monitoring tools. The point is that as bigger companies become bigger, the network is more complex, and with all of this new technology that is emerging every day, with different types of architectures like cloud, on-premises, hybrid topologies, it can be a really nightmare to monitor everything, right? And with that kind of scenario where you have, let's say, zero layer of visibility control on your network, you probably are missing data, you are losing packets, and you are generating a lot of blind spots. So this is what we try to address with visibility layer. So if you can move on next slide, Michael. So with the introduction of the visibility layer, we gave to you more control over your data, more controlled it is, right? You have less requirement in terms of footprint on your data center, less spiderweb cables from different tools trying to access the same piece of data. And eventually you're gonna be generating more trust data, or a more truthful point of source of data to your tools. You have more control, you have more ways to orchestrate this data before feeding your monitoring tools. So it creates a more leverage monitoring scenario to your network, right? So we simplify all of this deployment from your monitoring tools, and then you're gonna be fed with a single solution for capturing the data constantly without losing any packet, right? So on the next slide, you're gonna see how this deployment looks like, right? So on the left side, we're gonna have a very small elements that we call like tabs, or it could be virtual tabs or even bypasses. All of these small elements are part of our portfolio, and it helps you to gather data directly from the wire. So there is no configuration. There is no application layer here. It's completely hardware, it's completely transparent to your network and passive. What are the benefits of that? The benefit is that you are just copying signals, not packets. You are copying signal. It means that you are copying everything, including any kind of malformed packets or anything that you can imagine. And on top of that, you are reducing costs that you probably would be using on using a span session on a suite, on router, on a server, or whatever. So you don't need to use these resources, these valuable resources. You can rely on the tap, on the virtual tap, on the bypass to capture this data for you. And again, it's a hardware, it's just a plug and play. So there is no human configuration here. It means less error. You could probably generate some span sessions, some configurations that can be not really good configured, and it eventually you generate some blind spot to you as well. On the second step here, we have what we call network data brokers or network packet brokers, right? So these are the layer that will give you power to orchestrate this data, so you can gather this data from different tabs or virtual tabs across your network, different locations. You can have this controlled on a centralized packet broker, right? And on top of that, you can apply a lot of different features to enhance this data and leverage the value of this data before feeding your monitoring tools. What are these features? Basically, we can talk a few of that features that you can see here, like filtering, that it means that you can basically remove all of the data that is not valuable for your tools. With that, you can save resources on your monitoring side as well, right? So they can spend more time, more processing time on what really matters to this monitoring tool, right? But on top of that, we have many other features here that can be really valuable, like deduplication. Deduplication is a key component on packet broker that can remove packets duplicated. With that, you can remove false positives on your security layer, right? So this is really powerful, right? Not to say about the decryption. Decryption is another feature that, of course, you can find a lot of different security tools that can do decryption for you. But at what cost? Because decryption is really CPU power consuming. It can consume a lot of power of your devices. So imagine that you are investing a lot of money on a next generation firewall to do decryption, and that the decryption is something that must be really, really simple, right? So what we are doing here are basically third-partying this hard work of decrypting data with a packet broker, with a visibility layer, and feeding your security tools with plain text already decrypted, right? And the most important, you can just decrypt once and feed as many tools you have, right? Not to say on top of decryption, you must be in compliance as well. So you can also have features like data masking to make sure that all of the data that will be stored with Endace, for instance, to make sure that you are in compliance with the new regulations that we can see across the globe, right? So many features can be applied on top of the packet broker in order to give you more control over your data. So this is what the visibility on the point of view of Keysight is. It gives you power to control the data and how you're gonna feed your monitoring tools. Together, the visibility layer creating this bed of the source of data with Endace, you're gonna have a full control of this data and a more, let's say, fault-proof monitoring scenario. So I think it's with you now, Michael.
Yep. So as Anderson mentioned, the power of Keysight really is really valuable to Endace, providing us that visibility from anywhere in the network. They can centralize our deployment to a data center or some key locations where they're brokering the traffic to us, feeding it to us at line rate, everything from 100 meg to 100 gig. They can even go to 400 gig. And we're capturing at line rate with absolutely zero packet loss. So we're a physical appliance primarily for on-prem. We do have virtualized appliances as well, and cloud-native appliances, where we're continuously recording that network traffic. So your security and network operations teams have that ability to go back in time and look at the network traffic of what was happening before, during, and after an indicator of a compromise. Endace can also host third-party applications, whether that's an open source tool like Zeek, or whether it's a commercial tool like Fortinet's VM series, Cisco's VM series, or Palo Alto's VM series. We can run virtualized instances on our physical appliance. So as we're capturing data to disk, we can stream it to those tools for further analysis and inspection. We can actually replay the traffic. So let's say you get a 0-day update from your firewall vendor. You then apply that to all your physical appliances and your virtualized instances. We can replay yesterday's traffic and see if that signature is in the traffic that came through your network yesterday. Endace provides Endace Vision capability for your security teams to drill down into the packet level data. We even have Wireshark built into each UI and each appliance, so that when the analyst gets to that level, they need to see the raw packets. They can open it up directly in Wireshark and not be moving big PCAPs across the network. We also have advanced functions to do file carving, pull out file attachments within a packet, a PCAP set of data. So we can tell you exactly what was in that traffic. And our whole go-to-market approach within this environment is to enable your security teams to get to this network forensics, to get to this ultimate network data in the context of the other tools that you're already using. So whether, again, you're a Palo Alto shop or a Cisco shop or a Fortinet shop, from those firewall vendors, or from your SIEM solutions, whether that's Splunk, Microsoft Sentinel, Google SecOps, IBM QRadar, Elastic, Sumo Logic, any of the leading SIEM vendors, being able to pivot in context from an event in those tools to Endace Vision to investigate the details of an incident. And then automation vendors, again, like Splunk, Tynes, Palo Alto, all of them have orchestration platforms so that you can automate the search, archive, and download of that traffic, and basically be able to preserve critical evidence, whether that be for compliance reasons or for just back in time, really complex investigations. And again, we're built and designed for large scale environments. We've got nation states and agencies around the world that has literally hundreds, if not thousands, of probes deployed across their infrastructure. And with our cloud solutions, we're able to help customers operate in hybrid cloud infrastructures and work together to understand and have that visibility, again, from Keysight Cloud Lens in the cloud environments to their physical taps and packet brokers. We can get that visibility from anywhere in an infrastructure and record it and enable the pivot from the other security tools and applications. I see somebody's got their hand up. Don't know if I can read the question. Are there licenses included for these VMs, or do we need to purchase licenses for these VMs? So for the Fortinet Palo Alto VMs, yes, you would need to purchase those licenses from those vendors. Obviously, we would assume you're working with those vendors if you're using those virtualized instances. But yeah, you would need to work with those vendors for those solutions. But great question. And again, coming back to how Endace and Keysight work together and how it's so critical to be leveraging some of these best-in-breed solutions, not only can Keysight tap and access the data from anywhere across the network and broker it to the right tools. Maybe it's not just Endace. Maybe they're sending data to NDR solutions as well. But as Anderson mentioned, they can provide key capabilities of packet deduplication, which removes unwanted volumes of traffic, again, making our storage of the data way more efficient. They can do decryption, inline decryption, so making visible some of those encrypted payloads that enable your security teams to know what's happening inside that data. And again, application filtering, that's a key function where you can eliminate the need for recording and capturing things like video streaming traffic. Anderson, I see you have your hand up.
Sorry, not a question from me. And just wants to enjoy this slide because there is a point talking about decryption. And then there was a question from Anas. If we need to import a certificate for the decryption, the answer is no, it's not needed. The decryption happens as an inline proxy model. So we basically will be proxying in the middle of your communication doing this decryption, that we do re-encrypt this data with a new key. So it means that it can even support TLS 1.3, for instance. So there is no need for to import a certificate for the decryption.
Yeah, I see a follow-on question there, Anderson, as well. Endace will be on-premise, and Keysight can be provided as virtual appliances and cloud-based subscription, any storage requirements. So to clarify, Endace has both on-premise physical appliances, and we have cloud-native appliances. An AMI, we would supply you to put in your private VPC. So the data is kept in the cloud environment for cloud infrastructures, and for on-prem, it's kept in on-prem infrastructure. So it's either or is the answer to that question. And hopefully that clarifies that. What about files embedded in SSL traffic? So again, if the Endace will record the traffic sent to us from Keysight, whether it's encrypted or decrypted. So if Keysight decrypts it for us, then the decrypted traffic will be stored decrypted, which then enables us to do the file carving and identify what files are in that encrypted traffic. So we store it how it's sent to us. And again, that's one of the key functions and powers of working together with Keysight, is they can provide that decryption capability. So just great questions, but go ahead, Anderson. Anything else you want to add on this slide?
Just to complement this question about embedded files with the SSL traffic. So what we do decrypt is at network level, right? So if you have a file embedded with being transferred with the network communication, that's something that is not related to the network, but for the data itself. So yeah, in that case, we cannot decrypt that, right? So what we do decrypt is the network communication.
Great point. And then last point on this slide, to make data masking, again, a key function that Keysight can provide, obfuscating private or sensitive data in payloads. They have that capability as well. Can you handle DNS traffic? Yes, both Keysight and Endace can broker and filter DNS traffic, and Endace will record it again, however it's sent to us. So let's go through an example of solving a real-world incident using this architecture of Keysight and Endace, along with other security tools you might have within your infrastructure. So in this example, we're operating with Splunk Enterprise Security, and Endace has a free app out on Splunk Base, where again, if you have Splunk Enterprise Security and Endace, at least one of our probes, you can deploy this app into your Splunk environment. What that'll enable your Splunk teams to have is under an event action, they'll have an Endace search capability. So it'll obviously, there's some minor configuration setup to set up the app to talk and know where your Endace probes are. And again, we can have an investigation manager above any one individual probe. So you can search a whole fabric of Endace probes from this button capability. So on any event within Splunk Enterprise Security at this point, and this event is an SMB remote code execution vulnerability event that has been identified from your firewall, I believe in this case, and the event is appearing in my Splunk platform. So I see the details of the event. I have the source destination IP. I have this Endace search capability to show me the traffic of what was happening on this specific IP address. So I can then click on that link to search and find any data related to that incident. So that opens up Endace Vision in the context of this event. So this is a 10-minute window around that event time. I've actually focused, when I took the screenshot of this event, I've focused it in. I can zoom in on the traffic. I have a number of tools within Endace Vision to visualize the traffic, such as the traffic breakdown conversation view here, a couple of tools that have been picked from the tool list within Endace Vision. I also have conversational chord charts, top talkers, a number of other functions. And Endace provides a number of filtering capabilities. So I can filter out the types of traffic or filter in certain specific types of traffic. And again, have the ability to really refine what I'm looking at, because looking at packet data can be very complex in Wireshark. And so you want to get to this focused view of what you're trying to investigate as possible. And so in this case, again, I've zoomed into, this is just about a minute window of traffic now of conversation with these two IPs. Again, I can open Wireshark and look at the details of this SMB traffic. And I do see some interesting things in here. So I kind of go back to Endace Vision and I filter on just the SMB traffic, which is CIFS traffic, which would be the Microsoft update traffic. And in this particular case, I see unusual, right? When you're getting a Microsoft update, you would expect all that traffic to be coming directionally inbound out from a Microsoft server into your network to that, say, server, laptop, whatever it might be, getting that update. But in this particular case, you can see the large volume of outbound traffic, and you can see the directional flow here from the conversation view. And this is 200 megabytes of outbound traffic, which is very abnormal. And so this is where the SMB server was spoofed. So this was a false update. And instead, the SMB server basically requested to download the other direction using that protocol and basically got some traffic off this specific box. So then we run it through our file carving capability to examine what was taken. And we see a whole series of JPEGs and PDF. In this particular case, obviously, it's a little bit funny in that it happens to be a blueprint of the USS Enterprise. But the reality is this is a real world example of how having raw network traffic can give you that ultimate visibility and ultimate forensics to what's going on. And had this been sensitive blueprints of design documents or customer data, you'd have that information for, again, compliance reporting or just notifying your customers that some of their information may have been compromised. Or if this was sensitive infrastructure data to your organization, you'll know, these blueprints are potentially out in the risks. They may be ransomware at this point. You have that information to know what was compromised. And again, this can be invaluable for security organizations to have this level of forensic information. So we got a couple examples to share between Anderson and I. I'll start with the first one of some real world customers we've helped solve. Now we've had to hide the name of the companies just for their interest in protecting their own security stack. But this is a financial industry service provider. So this is a company that provides network services for financial entities across the globe. They've got, this is actually out of Europe. They've got 4 major data centers, and they basically had the need or the challenge to have that network visibility for repeatable events. They needed to isolate low-level noise on 40 gig links. Some of the key players in this environment, obviously Endace and Keysight, they were also using Vector as their NDR capability. And what we were able to provide them together between Endace and Keysight is the ability to have that network-wide deep packet analysis of and find those root cause issues of both network degradations as well as threats. So in this environment, they were leveraging our capabilities both with their network team as well as their security team. And we really helped improve their incident response time by providing this combined solution together. So I think this is a great case study for a service provider example. And then Anderson, I'll let you talk to this one, which is a Middle Eastern government agency.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, that was a really good example, and it's really similar to that one, right? So like many large national organizations, they were facing, let's say, 2 big challenges. The first one is the need for the high-speed network visibility with a deep packet capture across complex infrastructure, right? And the second is the fact that this infrastructure was distributed across more than 35 different locations. So it makes a lot difficult to manage and secure consistently. This is where the fusion of Keysight visibility with Endace come into play. So with the Keysight tabs that we mentioned early, together with the packet brokers, we provide a resilient visibility fabric that ensures that the right traffic from the right locations could be delivered to Endace for continuous recording. So that means that nothing was missed, regardless of which part of the network the traffic was flowing through, right? By doing this, the agents was able to scale its packet capture by 200%, right? That's a lot, right? And giving them roughly 60 days of historical look back. This capability is crucial in government environments, right? We know that when the threats happens, it might take weeks or even months before they are even detected by the specialists, by the teams. And thanks for this joint solution with Visibility Fabric, specialists could quickly access the data they needed, cutting the incident response time by a half, right? Instead of spending hours trying to figure out where an issue was originated, they had immediate, reliable access to deep packet data from across all of the sites. So this case shows the real power of combining Keysight visibility infrastructure with tabs, NPBs, ensuring that every packet of interest is captured. And with Endace storage and analytics platform, delivering the deep story and the insight needed to investigate and resolve the issues at scale, which is really important here, right?
Yep. I see, Anderson, that a couple of questions came in from Anas. Is the integration that I showed in the example only for Splunk, or is there an API that can be integrated with other SIEMs? So we actually have pre-built integrations with a number of SIEMs, as I mentioned, Elastic, IBM QRadar, Microsoft Sentinel, Google SecOps, Sumo Logic, just to name a few. We do have a published API that we can basically do an integration with any SIEM. So yeah, we do have a very simple REST HTML API to have access. And then the next follow-up question was, can you handle OT traffic such as SCADA? Yes, Endace can capture any traffic sent to us, again, by Keysight or any other span or tap. So yes, we can definitely handle OT traffic. We're seeing a lot more need for that across a number of organizations. Again, critical infrastructure has a lot of that type of specific protocol traffic. And again, we can capture any of that type of data. So great questions. So call to action here for the next slide. What's the value of network visibility and historical packet data? What does it give your security or network analyst team? Well, first, it's time. It's time to understand in depth the breadth of any threat, to go back days, weeks, or months, and really to connect the dots of the log data. We know many of you have log data to start with, and that's important, right? It's vital evidence as well. But it often requires packet data to connect the dots of those indicators that you find, whether it be in authentication logs, system logs, network logs, and being able to connect those dots. Packet data also preserves evidence. It's a way to archive forensic data. It can be critical for searches and finding relevant things to zero-day threats. And it's key for seeing things like lateral movement, C2, or as we've shown in the example, data exfiltration. Anderson, you want to talk about accelerating investigations?
Yeah, for sure. So fast investigations, let's think about when an incident occurs. Time is everything, right? So specialists don't have days to piece things together. They need to answer in minutes. And by delivering a clean and relevant traffic through tabs and NPBs, we can make sure that Endace and other tools have exactly the packet they need, without noising or blind spots. So this dramatically reduces the expertise and the time required. So instead of searching endlessly, specialists can pivot directly from alert in their SIEM or SOAR tool or whatever, and jump straight to the packets and see the evidence in context. That's the difference between hours of searching versus minutes to resolution. And why not to finalize here, tamper-proof data, right? Forensics are only strong as the integrity of the data. If the attackers can wipe the logs or alter the system records, the investigation fails. But when the packets are captured directly from the wire via tabs, the data is unalterable, right? Full payload and preserved before, during, and after the event. So this gives to the investigators confidence that the evidence is complete and haven't been manipulated at all. So it means also they can prove exactly what happened, even if the adversaries try to cover their tracks. So in a short word, Keysight visibility ensures that every relevant packet makes it to the right tool, which means faster answers for your specialists and worth tamper-proof evidence for your security operations.
Excellent. So I see a couple new questions. In the example shared, is there any sensors deployed on multiple locations and aggregated on a single location? So typical deployment will have multiple Endace probes deployed across key points in the network. Those may be on ingress and egress points in and out of the network. They may be on core data center links. They may be at branch offices, or again, if you have our cloud probes, they would be in your cloud VPCs. So very possible to have multiple probes deployed. Now, again, those can be either physically remotely deployed or leveraging Keysight taps and packet brokers. You can centralize that data back to centralized locations. So again, the power of having Endace and Keysight together is to really provide flexibility for customers in how they deploy, where they deploy, and how they centralize the data for operational use. So there's a lot of flexibility in there. Hopefully that answered that question. And the last question, what about jumbo packets? Again, Endace records the line rate. So whatever's crossing the wire, whether that's micro packets or jumbo packets, we would store those. We basically have a rolling buffer of packet data that we're capturing to. And again, we keep that for as long as storage allows, so you can go back in time. So the call to action, and again, Anderson, chime in here, really cyber attacks are a given. They are going to happen with your customers and within your environments. So it's critical to put in place the right solutions. So Anderson, start with the visibility piece.
Yeah, for sure. So when we talk about cyber defense today, the reality is that cyber attacks are giving, right? The question isn't if they will happen, but it's when it will happen. So that's why putting in place scalable network-wide visibility and always-on packet capture is absolutely essential, right? Without it, you can't be certain that you have the network evidence when you need and when an incident occurs. So this is exactly where Keysight plays a critical role here with the tabs and the NPBs. We ensure that you can see every packet from every corner on your network. In other words, the only way to be sure you are ready to the next attack is to have complete scalable visibility from the wire. And that's the foundation of the effective detection, investigation, and response.
Yeah, and having that, and that's where, again, we complement each other so well. Endace being able to provide that historical view and being able to integrate it with all the other security tools. Your security teams have a lot on their plate and they need to simplify their workflows. So they need to be comfortable getting from tools they're already using, whether that's their SIEM like Splunk or Elastic or QRadar, or whether that's their firewalls, to be able to have that data, have that forensics tied to and simple workflows with those other tools really is key to helping accelerate and have accurate response. So Endace and Keysight together really give you that assurance for that absolute certainty. And our last slide, just kind of, because I'm sure many of you don't even know who Endace is. We've been around over 25 years. We focus on being the best in the industry at high scale, continuous network packet capture. And we provide that for weeks or months worth of look back for both on-prem or cloud infrastructures. We provide fast search capabilities so that your teams can go through literally petabytes of traffic and get to that needle in the haystack and have that needle integrated with other tools and workflows. And we work with other best in breed solutions, firewall vendors, security vendors, SIEM vendors, and we're a hardened solution. We've got a number of FIPS 140-3, NIAP, common criteria, federal certifications to ensure we're resilient and robust for your environment. And we've become a trusted supplier by government agencies, military agencies around the world, global telcos, international banks, healthcare, and large enterprises. So with that, we've got about 6 or so minutes left to go. We certainly thank you for your time this afternoon, this evening. We're open to any other further questions between Anderson and I that you might have. And we'd be happy to work with you to see how we can help you together fortify your security stack.
Well, I see no question, but just want to complement some of the questions, past questions here, Michael.
Yes.
When asked about OT traffic and the SCADA, you already answered that, but just to complement this topic, at Keysight, we are the only one on which we can provide a TAP and a packet broker for OT environment. It means that you can deploy literally taps and a packet broker inside of this operational infrastructure, even with very harsh environments, right? Because you know that this kind of environment is not a data center is not very suitable for many of the devices. So we have taps and packet brokers that were homologated and have all of the certifications to be deployed in this very harsh environment.
Yep. So thank you again for taking the time out of your day, and certainly appreciate it.
A last question come up here. I think it's for you, Michael.
Do we have an online demo that can be shared with our customers? So yes, if you go to endace.com, we have a number of, and then you go to the partners page, we have a number of demo videos where you can show the workflow like what I showed with Splunk. But we have it with a number of our other partners as well, where you can see some of the examples of that. And again, apologize, a lot of those demo videos don't show Keysight feeding us the traffic, but again, they're shall we say, kind of the plumbing underneath the hood that's getting Endace data in many environments around the globe. And so, but there are examples of out on our partner page, so endace.com/partners, and you can see that. And what is the license schema? So I'll let Anderson chime in on licensing and sales for Keysight. For Endace, for the physical appliances, you buy the appliance. It's a one-time upfront purchase, CapEx spend for the appliance. There's an annual hardware support and software maintenance, but that's negligible compared to many of our competitors who charge annual subscription licensing. So we're a perpetual license for our hardware appliances. We are an annualized license for our virtual or cloud-based appliances, but they're very cost-effective for those types of environments.
Yeah, I would say the same applies for Keysight license. We have a perpetual license and a subscription license model. The thingy is that tabs, actually, physical tabs, at least they don't require license. It's just a hardware, a standalone. So in this case, only support. But for the packet broker, there's some stack licenses that enable you additional features. So it depends on how you want to use the packet broker. You can be more flexible in the licensing that you want to enable on the packet broker.
Yeah, and the last question there, what happens if license expired? For Endace, the appliances still continue to capture the data, but you'll need to reissue the license then to get logged in. So we can work with you on that.
Yeah, I would say the same for us. If the license expires, it keeps working, but you won't be able to do any additional features.
Yeah. Okay, so with that, Faisal, anything you want to wrap with?
Yes, thank you, Michael. First of all, I would like to thank everyone who have attended. I hope it was very informative for you. I love all the questions. I know most of you, but if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. I'll be sending an email to each one of you with a quick introduction and a couple of our, let's say, data sheets and so on. Also, regarding if you have a customer that you want to do a live demo, just reach out. We would be able to jump on online and do a live demo using our lab environment, where they would be able to see how it would work on whatever solution they have, as we do have a lot of technologies on our live demo. Can you share these slides? Let me check with Michael. Can we share these slides, Michael?
Yeah, we'll put them in a PDF form and get them to you, Faisal, so you can share them.
Sure. Thank you very much. If you don't have any questions, I would like to thank our speakers also, Michael and Anderson. Thank you for your time. I know it's very early for you, Michael. Anderson, you are in UAE time, so you are at the end of your day also. So thank you very much.
You guys have a
Thank you.
great rest of your evening. Thank you for taking the time.